Bobcats are going to Boston. I'm Keff Ciardello, Texas State beat reporter, joined here by Mike Orakpo, former Texas State football player, and we're here to talk about Texas State's matchup this weekend in Boston to take on Boston College.
Yep.
First P5 opponent of the year. Rack, how you feeling? What are you thinking the Bobcats are going to do this weekend?
Oh man, I'm really excited. When it comes to playing a Power Five, obviously I'm sure everyone knows it's a great time to really match up against a quality football team. It's always a great time to be able to see how well you match up against a Power Five team. To my knowledge, I believe we have yet to beat a Power Five team, in our program. And to be honest, I think Boston College it's a great chance. It's a great chance for us to prove how competitive we really are. I know we went into the SMU game. It was competitive. We went into the UTSA game. We should have won that game as well. And then we finally pulled off a great win last week against ULM. I think we dominated that game for the most part. So I'm very excited to see how we really match up against these BC boys.
Yeah, a P5 matchup is definitely a good barometer to see where a program is. And you mentioned it, they hung in there with SMU, which is one of the better G5 programs out there. Close game with UTSA, who's still undefeated on the year. So, and then they beat ULM, one of the lower end teams of the Sun Belt. And so it's kind of a real test. And they're almost going to be at full bore, at least in the quarterback room. They're going to have McBride and Tyler Vitt available in this game. So it's going to be interesting to see where this team really is. It's been kind of hard to see the identity of it with so many guys in and out and everything, but if they can hang in there and at least stay somewhat competitive. Last I saw, they're 17.5-point dogs to this one to Boston College. So if they can keep it, under that, I think it would be a pretty successful game for the Bobcats. I mean, we know this is a physical team. Boston College, they always have big linemen. Their linemen, they're big this year too. Their offensive linemen, I think their smallest one is 6'3", 305 pounds. Everyone else is bigger than that. So definitely the size advantage on the line there. It'll be a physical game, and we saw last week where they only had 5 defensive linemen come for Texas State.
Right.
So if that's going to be the same case for them this week, it might be a long day. But Coach was saying they're going to have some guys back. Didn't say the names, but they're going to have some D linemen back this week. So should be a little bit of a better deal going for the Bobcats, at least on the D line. Rack, what do you think are kind of some of the keys to the Bobcats this weekend going against Boston?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, some of the keys for the Bobcats is definitely going to be being physical up front, all right, controlling the line of scrimmage. I think that has to happen on the offensive side of the ball. I also think that has to happen on the defensive side of the ball. Normally when teams like Texas State type programs play Power 5 type teams, the Power 5 type teams aren't really trying to come into that game and be overly creative. They just think that they can out-physical a team like Texas State. They think they're bigger than us, or they think they're stronger than us, and they think that they're just going to be able to out-physical us up front, especially on their offense. When their offense goes up against our D-line, they're going to try to run the ball. I can tell you right now, starting the game, they're going to try to establish a run game on us because they just think they're flat out bigger and stronger than us. So one of the main keys for us is going to be establishing that dominance up front, letting them know that we will not be pushed around, letting them boys know that, we got some dogs up front too. I know I talked a little bit about the dog pound, but if you're a real dog, we're going to be able to see it against these BC boys. I'll tell you that for sure.
Absolutely. And last week it was kind of a weird deal for them just because they had 5 turnovers on defense against Duke. Yeah. And so their offense didn't look exactly what it's known to look like. Like they didn't run the ball a whole lot last week, mainly because they didn't have to. I know that their quarterback, Phil Jurkovec, I hope I'm saying his last name right, Phil Jurkovec, transferred in from Notre Dame. It was one of only 3 games that a quarterback has thrown for 300 yards for Boston College since 2010. So when you talk about this is a running team, I mean, they have since 2010, they haven't had very many 300-yard passers. And this guy comes in his very first game, he gets 300 right on the nose. And so he adds a little extra wrinkle to their offense now. I mean, it's kind of a new look for them there. But Yeah, with Jerkovic, he's one of 5 dudes that have transferred in from big schools. They got like an Ohio State receiver. They've got a D lineman from Cal. And so they're looking at a pretty good season, honestly. When I watched that Duke BC game again, and they
Yeah,
are
yeah,
uh, they they're different than what people expected. Because even when you heard the broadcast, they were like, "Oh, this is going to be a running team. This is going to be that." And then they passed a good amount, and so it'll be interesting because Texas State has way more tape out there than Boston College. Boston College
yeah.
just has the one game, and so just that one game, we didn't see a lot of that physical running. I think they had. Let me see. I wrote it down. They had 84 rushing yards on 42 rushes. So I mean, only 2 yards of carry there.
Gotcha.
Um, which usually not there. Usually it's the other way around. They're running all
Right,
over.
right, right.
So because of that, I kind of expect them to run more this week. Just, like you said, they're kind of looking down at their opponent thinking, oh, okay, we can bowl over those guys. But,
Right, right.
we'll see how that goes for them there. I know we talked to Zach Spav on Tuesday, and actually I wrote down a good quote he had about Boston College's offense. You don't mind me
Yeah,
reading that?
go ahead, please. Kev's quotes right here, right?
I actually wrote it down. Look at me. I did some prep this time. How about
Yeah,
that?
man.
All right, this is Zach Spav on the Boston College offense, a true pro-style offense. They're going to huddle, line up, and then execute. We're expecting 65 snaps instead of 85 as we've seen the last 3 weeks. With that comes efficiency. We've got to come off the field on third down because we aren't going to have as many opportunities.
Right.
We've got to make sure when we fit the run game, we get them into some negative plays. That's what BC does. They are simple from a schematic standpoint, but they do a really good job of executing. So, end quote there. Yeah, and that's Zach Spavital on Boston College's offense. That they're more about running the clock, running
Right.
the ball, like you said, little passes here and there, but they're not trying to run 85 plays and do that whole spread offense. It's going to be a slower offensive look for them, almost like that West Coast offense feel. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bobcats can combat that and see if they can, because that's been their issue. And that's what Zach Spav said too, is that getting off the field on third down has kind of been an issue. And
Yeah.
if that offense is there just getting first down, and just keeping the defense on the field, it's going to wear them out. So they've got to really find a way on third down to buckle down and get that ball turned over back to them.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. And, their coach, Jeff Hafley is his name. He's in his first year. He was first year as a head coach ever,
Yeah.
kind of like Spav last year. He was the co-DC at Ohio State last year. Really good defense for them. Before that, he's got a ton of NFL experience as a DB coach. Let me see what I write. Tampa Bay, San Francisco, and the Browns. He's a defensive guy. So as much as we're talking offense,
Yeah.
this guy's bread and butter is defense. Jeff
Right.
Hafley there. And
it showed. They played some great defense and pretty good defense against Duke. They was able to keep that game a very low scoring game for Duke. Last game. So it shows, man. It shows their defensive minded team is looking like so far.
Absolutely. And and 5 turnovers for them last week.
5 turnovers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's 5 turnovers and then holding Duke to 6 points. Really impressive first game going out, because as much as people want to think, oh, Duke's a basketball school, they're not very good at football. I mean, they're good enough to not get stomped like that.
Duke hasn't been doing they've been doing pretty well in football.
Right.
They really changed their program around, going to bowl games and being competitive. I know they was winning some bowl games. So yeah, man. It was a pretty good game for them defensively. I liked what I saw out of those guys. So
yeah, Duke is definitely no slouch. They can play for sure. Now, one thing that will help Texas State against this vaunted BC defense, I say vaunted, we'll see. They played one game.
Right.
Jamil Jeter, Texas State running back, getting cleared to play on Wednesday.
Yeah.
What a big, surprising development. In a season where it's just been quarantines and injuries and all these guys in and out out of the depth chart, now they finally get a little bit of relief, get an extra running back and add to that 3-headed monster.
They saw tweets, Kev.
They did, right? We've been
Saw some of our tweets, man, and they were just like, you know what? Pull that, hey, pull that Texas State file back up, man. They got a running back named Jeter. You know,
now
open that Texas State transfer file back up. You know, let's give this a second look. You know,
I like to think it was us and the fans and everyone else tweeting about it, because there was a lot of people being like, "Hey, NCAA, what's the deal? We want this guy." But it's kind of interesting.
We start calling. Everybody start calling out the refs, and next thing you know, we start getting a couple calls. You know, we got a couple calls finally against UTSA. You know, after and then they NCAA, I guess, finally started hearing us. Please, whatever y'all doing, keep it coming. All right.
We got two more. There's two more. Waydell Jones and Silas Robinson need one too. So let's
keep them coming.
Silas Robinson would be nice on the offensive line with all the issues they've had there.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting deal with Jeter because after the first game, Jake Spavital told us that his waiver had been denied. And so it wasn't looking good then. He said that they appealed it, but usually those appeals don't go that well. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of mentally scratch him off the list for this season. And to get the news on Wednesday, I mean, it's such a fantastic break for the Bobcats. And I mean, what a big back. And we've talked about the running backs already. I mean, you see Brock Sturgis, Calvin Hill, they've combined for 403 yards this season. Yep. So they're already rolling. Then you add this guy, 230-pound back. I mean, how do you use three running backs? What are the Bobcats going to do here, Rack? What do you think?
Run the ball.
Easy enough.
That's how you use three running backs. Run the ball, because guess what? If you're running the ball and you establishing the run game, then I mean everybody is able to eat. Everybody's able to eat at the table, man. I've been liking what I've been seeing, but no, seriously, if we all know, if you can establish a more balanced offense and Tyler Vitt, Brady McBride, whoever is that quarterback and they get out and they do what they do, then it's going to kind of ease some of the pressure off of us on the run game, because as soon as they start completing a couple passes now, they're not going to be loading the box up. All right. No one likes when they're putting 8 in the box and they're loading the box up and they're going man on the perimeters, because it forces us to have to be able to, work harder to open those gaps up so that we can run the football. Now, when we're able to, keep one in the backfield and we're able to kind of spread it out and start getting our receivers the ball, having more of a balanced offense, then our run game starts opening up. And the next thing you know, those holes start getting a lot wider than they do if you're just force feeding them the ball every play. Man, to be honest, shout out to Brant Freeman, in all he does for Texas State, man. There was a wonderful stat that I want to use on this, on this pod, on this show. And it's just showing us the improvement so far. Now, I know we're only 3 games in, but it is a big improvement, especially, being that we've not played an FCS team this year. We've played 3 Division I teams, So in 2019, we averaged 77 rushes per game. Here in 2020, we're at 150 per game. In 2019, we averaged 240 passes per game. In 2020, we're at 275. In 2019, we was at 317 total offense, and we was at 18.4 points per game. In 2020, we're at 425 total offense per game, and we're at a whopping 36 points per game. So rushing yardage and points per game have nearly doubled from 2019 to 2020. That lets you know the improvement that we have done offensively. Man, anytime you can look at those numbers, you can see that the offense is improving. It's a real, true testament to, number one, that coaching staff. People was, and I love the fact that no one has been questioning Coach Spav so far. They've been letting him do what he do, because we knew, and I was very adamant on this. Coach Spav, those guys know how to coach, man. All right, I see what he did at West Virginia. We all know what he did at all the other schools that he was at. The guy knows how to coach. The guy knows how to dial up an offense. We know Coach Pillar is a hell of a coach. those guys have been able to come in here and do a very, very great job at improving the offense. And, man, through 3 games, kudos to that. Another big thing that people have to realize is, and you know I'm going to go here, is it's defense time, guys. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, I want to give credit to Coach Zach Spav on the defensive side of the ball, because to be honest, Kev, it is very hard to replace guys like Frankie Griffin, who had his shot in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers, to replace guys like Brian London, who had his shot in the NFL. To replace guys like like Nick Daniels, Ishmael Davis. We had a lot of quality people on the defensive side of the ball that we had to fill. And so far through these 3 games, I have not noticed a significant drop-off defensively. It does not seem like we lost one of our team captains. It does not seem like we lost one of our veteran linebackers, who was also, one of the leaders of that football team. And, man, that's a true testament to, what these coaches have been able to come in and do with this football team so far.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, especially with the non-drop-off despite who's in there. I mean, we talked about it on the last one.
Right.
Where they were running Jimmer Daniels and Jacquel or Sammy Obiang.
Right.
Defensive lineman and defensive end. They had your nose tackle at defensive end because they're so short on pieces, and they still were able to manage a really good game.
Yeah.
I want to shout out you for the stats, bringing the stats.
Hey,
there.
man,
all stats. I'm a numbers guy. I love that.
Yeah.
Brent, hey, I also appreciate Brent. I saw that tweet too. That's a good one. You could definitely think that is a big sign. And it goes back to coaching, just like you said. It just goes because Spav came in here, offensive guru. This guy's going to put points on the board. We didn't see it last year. Now he calls the plays, 36.6, like you just said. And I mean, it's a world of difference right there. And that offense, it's just going to get better with Jeter back there. I've got another quote I wrote down. Actually, this one's on my phone. This one is from Jake Spav back in fall camp when we were asking him about Jamel Jeter. This was back when his status was still up in the air and everything, and just what he just talked about what Jeter brings to the team. So I'll go ahead and start that. Quote, Jeter is a grown man. It's what we keep talking about, especially with our teammates and our coaches, because my brother, Zach Spavital, our defensive coordinator, is always talking about how they can't tackle him. He's very strong. He's got a great sense of awareness of where the free hitters are and how he can position his body. He just never goes to the ground. He's definitely your short yardage back. He's 225, 230 pounds, very dynamic kid. Trust me, I want this waiver as bad as he does. He's fun to watch, and he's going to bring that playmaking ability when things are going bad. If we don't block it up perfectly, he'll still make a play out of it, end quote. And that's high praise. I remember when Spav said it. It was the week leading up to the first game. I was like, wow. There was 2 guys in camp that he praised that high. One of them was Jeremiah Haydell. So, and now the other one is Jeter. So I personally am very excited. I don't know if he's going to start.
Right.
I can't imagine he'd start first game back. But I totally expect him to get carries, even though he's only been cleared for 3 days. They've been practicing with scout team. In fall camp, he was running with the 1s and 2s. In fall camp, it was Sturgis and Jeter, and I was just drooling watching that. I was like, oh, please give me that 1-2 punch. But it's exciting. It's an exciting deal, and he's going to have 3 years left. He has this year and then 2 more after it. So,
woo, wonderful. Kev, it's really amazing, man, to be honest. I mean, I'm just, as you were saying that, I'm thinking last year, and I'm just like, we went from like a hello, is it running backs? Is anybody home? Like, we literally went from like a empty running back room, like, and it's no disrespect, but it's just, please, no disrespect, but it's just like it is what it is, whatever we are seeing on the field. We just didn't have, I talked to you, Kev, last year, and I kept harping on it, I don't know if you guys got sick of it, but I kept saying, we don't have a guy, like, when was the last time we had 1,000-yard rusher or even a running back that was on his way to even getting close to 1,000 yards? When was the last time? Y'all remember you said you have to check your records, and you probably still need to because it's been so long. We have not, every program should every so often have at least 1,000-yard rusher in the backfield, and we have not had it. So this has been, since for years now, I can say we finally have a running back room. I don't care if it's the first string, second string, third string, whoever. Brock Sturgis, he can go. Calvin Hill, he can go. Jeter, he can go. You know what I'm saying? So we got running backs now. I'm excited, man. I'm excited with that three-headed monster is going to be able to do this upcoming Saturday.
The three-headed monster. We can
Yes,
credit Brian Hamilton, tight ends coach at Texas State. He's the one that tweeted that out.
Okay.
I saw him tweet that. He was like, when the two-headed monster becomes three, and it was before anybody knew, and I was like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
I started asking her out. I found out Jeter's back on the team. Now, and it's no disrespect to the guys last year, like you were saying, but you look at it this year, and the leading rusher last year was Caleb Twyford. He's yet to get a carry this season.
Right.
That's indicative of itself.
Right.
Not that he's a bad player, he's still on special teams. I still think he's a guy that they could throw some passes to out of the backfield. That's a whole other deal with Twyford. Yep. But yeah, that just goes to show that the guy that they leaned on last year isn't even getting any touches. So total revamp of that rushing room. And I personally, I'm a running guy. I like to watch a running offense. I think it's a way to bleed the clock. It's kind of like what we were talking about with BC, how they run their offense. It's a good way to control the game if you've got that strong rushing attack. So it'll take some pressure off the shoulders of McBride or Vitt. We don't know, but I think we got to jump into that next. I think quarterback.
It's time. It's time to jump into the quarterback controversy.
I'm still Team McBride over here. I love Tyler Vitt. I interviewed him yesterday. That kid really fires me up, but I still – and it's not because I think, Vitt can't do it as much as I want to see McBride. I just want to see what he can do. But at the same time, giving Vitt another running back, it might not be a bad deal either. You still Team Vitt over there?
Man, Kev, if you want us to play the opposites, then I'll go Team Vitt if you want to give me Team Vitt. But man, Kev, to be honest, man, I hate to, I guess I take the PC route on this answer here, but bro, I can't say that I'm Team Vitt because I'm not 1,000% behind Vitt like that, But
we've seen too much already with the turnovers. I'm in the same. So I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm in the same boat as you though, just because we've seen too much from Vitt.
We seen and the fact that we've seen him enough, and I don't want to hold that against him because he has shown a massive amount of improvement this year, and I do not want to hold that against him. But am I gonna say that I'm just a Team Vitt? I can't say that. But what I do know is that it only makes the most sense to have Vitt start the game and have him continue to be the quarterback because he's been playing some good football. And that's all you can ask. We, as of right now as a team, we do not need a hero. We do not. We have shown that against SMU. We do not need a hero. We've shown that against we showed that against UTSA, and we showed that. Sorry, let me rephrase. We shown that against UTSA, and we also shown that against ULM. We do not need a hero to win. We could have won the UTSA game for sure. We could have even won the SMU game. Brady McBride had his struggles that game, and guess what? We were still in it. He still made enough plays. He was kind of back. It was his first game. And we still was in the game. So am I excited to possibly get to see McBride again? Of course. I'm not gonna just raise my flag and say, "Ooh, I'm Team Vitt." But I will say that, man, for somebody to play how he played against ULM, for somebody to get in there against UTSA and do what he did, bro, Vic played a great game against UTSA. He did. He was slanging that thing. Now, he did throw some picks, but he was slanging that thing. And right now, we have receivers that let them rip, okay? Let them rip. Let them rip, bro. And that's one thing that we know we're gonna get out of Vic. He gonna let that thing rip. If they call a play and he got to throw it, wherever it's gonna go, he's gonna get it to him. And guess what? Our receivers been doing every time. They've been catching that football. They're catching the football. So why change it? So I say, man, let Vic get in there, do what he do. If he proven to us that this is the same Vic that we've been seeing from last year, then guess what? We got our boy McBride ready to get in there, and then he going to be able to show people, hey, man, I think y'all forgot about me, but I'm still as good as advertised. All right? It's like a ride. It's like a bike. You never forget how to ride that thing, right? So it's like, man, that's kind of where I stand on this thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Mike Orakpo, Team Bobcats, not Team Vic, not Team McBride, Team Bobcats.
No, I'm just because you're gonna have all our subscribers talking about, man, Rack said Rack was Team Vic, and you thought Vic and hell. No, I didn't.
Hey, I'll put my name on McBride. And let's go.
I'm gonna put my name on whoever got the hot end. How about that?
There you go. That's smart man right there. No, and it's funny because when last episode we talked about could we possibly see both, and you shook your head no, and I'm kind of in the same boat. If you're playing two quarterbacks, not usually a great deal, but Spav kind of hinted that might happen when we talked to him on Tuesday. He's like, I fully expect to see both. So maybe he's playing with us.
Kev, would you like me to decode that for you guys? Do you want me to decode that? Because I can decode it. There's a level of PC in that. But if you want me to decode it, I can decode it for you. Okay.
I'm ready.
What that means is when he said what was the quote again? Say what he said again. He what?
I'm paraphrasing here, but he was saying that he expects both to play on Saturday. He expects
both to play. So you know what this means? This means that Tyler Vitt, you're gonna start, right? And if you're playing very, very well, we just gonna continue to play you the whole game. But if you're not playing very, very well, we may put McBride in there so that we see both quarterbacks. That's what is going to happen, guys. Trust me on this. I know this. If Tyler Vitt is going to start the football game, if you don't believe me, shoot me a message. We can bet. All right. Tyler Vitt will start the football game. If he is playing lights out exceptional, there will be no McBride. I'm going to tell you that right now. If he is playing mediocre or he's not playing, he's kind of shaky, he throws a pick, interception, the offense is sluggish, they're not work, then guess what? McBride will make his debut right there in the game. So you heard it here first.
I love it. But and really, you just reading the tea leaves there of what Spav said makes a whole lot of sense. It's like you decoding that. See, that's why it's good to have your football experience here. You've heard all that coach speak before. You read right through
I expect both of them. Coach Spav, love you, man.
No, but with these quarterbacks, it's gonna be. It's like we were saying, it's a good problem to have where it's two guys that we are pretty confident that are capable of going out there and playing this game. Well, what do you think? Do you think that the Bobcats are gonna be able to hang with Boston College and we'll see Vitt the whole game, or do you think it would be a McBride deal? It's kind of hard to read the future, but what are you expecting from yourself, your personal perspective?
Number one, I'm gonna go from more from an analyst standpoint. If we're going to cover the spread, and I'm not being the homer when I say that. We're going to cover the spread. I don't think Boston College is going to beat us by more than 17 points. We're going to cover the spread. I believe that it's going to – and I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again, Kev. If we can establish a run game on offense, I believe that it's gonna be a competitive game if we can establish a run game. If we go out there in offense, and because Spav is gonna try to run the ball, he's gonna try to kind of throw easy dink passes to get Vitt warmed up a little bit, and I guarantee they're probably gonna run the ball. You know, we have a full backfield now. They're gonna kind of come in with that game plan, like we're gonna crease the seams on these guys. If we can establish that run game early, that game will be very, very competitive. On the defensive side, if we can play physical up front and actually get to the quarterback, the game will be even more competitive, and we will have a chance to steal one. I'm for real. You know, it's all gonna. I don't care about DBs. It's not about receivers right now. It's not about DBs. It is going to be what is going to happen up front. If we can establish the physical presence and we can match your physical up front, we will have a chance to be in this football game.
I can't disagree with you there at all. I mean, it does. I'm also on the same boat with them beating the cover. I don't think they're going to get beat by more than 17 points. And I think a lot of that has to go to what we were talking about with Boston College's offense. They're not the air raid, put up a million point type of offense. They're going to try and control the clock. You know what I mean? I think the best way to beat them is almost kind of do that back to them. Try and control the clock right back. When you have the ball, run that clock down. Use Jeter, use Sturgis, use Hill, use all those guys. Get Twyford off the bench. Get him in there too. I mean, like I really think that's a big key is going to be running this ball. And not even just the running backs going. I mean, we saw Vitt taking off last week, getting some good rush yards. We know McBride can run around too. And I mean, if you can just really just almost pound them in the submission, they have the size advantage. You want the execution advantage. You just want to keep going after them. I don't think Texas State wins, but I do think that they're not going to get beat as much as Vegas thinks they're going to get beat.
Right. Yeah. And to clarify, you know, when I said the run game, Kev, me personally, I think it's the difference between having it as a game plan of like, we're going to run the ball on these guys and establishing the run game. I think if we can establish the run game, it's going to allow us to be able to do other things. Because to be honest, man, to beat a team like BC, you're not going to be able to just come in there and be conservative. They're going to try to do that. Okay, we have to be aggressive in all fronts. All right, it's going to start up front in establishing the run game. But if we can establish the run game, it's going to open up things. And I just hope, you know, we can get – you remember when we came into that even ULM. Remember we came into the ULM game, the first half was just like, woo, these boys are rolling on offense, you know. And then the second half of the UTSA game, you're like, wow, you know, man, if we can get UTSA's second half and get ULM's first half, man, it's going to be a little bit more competitive than a lot of people think.
Putting the two halves together. I think that's another great point because that I feel has been an issue with depth. They just don't have the guys. They get a little gassed as the game goes on. But that is important. A full game of consistent offense, of consistent tough defense as well. I think you're absolutely right. And finding that consistency, and that's why I feel like fourth game of the year, this is going to be the time where the Bobcats really start to establish their identity. You know, I like what I've seen the first three games, especially on offense. But I think that this is the game where they really start to solidify who they are for the rest of the season. You know, it's once you're a month into it, what do people say? 30 days. It forms a habit. You know, I think that'll kind of be the same case with Texas State football when it comes to games. And at least, you know, they got that win. They learned how to win last week because that was the big question mark after the first 2 weeks. Is they're close, but can this young team learn how to win? And they learned how to win last week. They just gotta keep it going this time.
Yeah.
But, you know, one thing I can get to is some injuries. There's a few guys. Obviously, let's get that injury report. Every coach's least favorite part of any show is when we ask about injuries or who's hurt, who's banged up.
Yeah.
You know, with Spav, he doesn't really get into details about who's banged up. He doesn't want to give the advantage to the competitors, which is something I respect. So if somebody has a slight injury, he doesn't bring it up. But if it's something pretty obvious, he does. And he talked about Cordell Rogers, who, starting corner for Texas State, starts on the opposite side of Jerron Morris. I saw him when I was watching the game on TV. I couldn't tell if he rolled his ankle or what, but he kind of limped off the field really fast before a play could start. And this week he's in crutches on that foot. It's not a boot. It's just kind of wrapped up. So I don't want to speculate and play doctor, but it might be a sprain. But Spav seemed optimistic about it. They're waiting on some results. I'm sure they took some MRIs and they're waiting on him. But I doubt he plays this week against Boston College, which is a big blow because they're already down one starting corner with Canberra Winters, who's out for the season. So that's a big issue. And then Jordan Revels, who actually led the team in tackles against UTSA, led or was one of the top tacklers, and then didn't play last week on the D line. It looks like he's still going to be out this week, but another guy they're somewhat optimistic about. Those are two pretty big injuries on defense, but it seems like they'll get some other guys back going. Jacques Pierce, it seems like, is really starting to get full bore on that D line. And that's the big issue. That D line is they've got to get some bodies back to get that pressure like you were talking about and play against that big offensive line. But, and I'm sure there's some more guys with who are in COVID quarantine, but they don't specify that, so we don't know. But I can tell you last week we didn't see Eddie Rivas or Alex Castilla on the offensive line, and I didn't see him at practice again. So I did kind of expect them to kind of be out as well. That's why that Silas Robinson waiver would go a long way for this.
Right. I agree.
But yeah, that's kind of the injury report there with the Bobcats. Not too many, not too bad, And gosh, getting Jeter back. It's gonna be.
That's good, man. That's good. Great news. I think we're all excited. We're all ready to see what he's gonna do. Yeah, man. We got three guys in the backfield now. So let's get to it.
Let's get that three-headed monster going. That Kraken. Do you know what a Kraken is? It's probably too dorky for you, I bet.
I do not.
Shout out to my Clash of the Titans fan. There's a few nerds out there that get the Kraken's a big monster with a bunch of heads.
Got you.
Now, if you're listening to this on the audio portion, I highly suggest you go subscribe to our YouTube page and watch it specifically for Rack. Because you just don't get the full deal if you're not watching him. I mean, you really pop on this thing. That's something that I've been hearing a lot. I heard last season, hearing it more so this season.
Yeah.
We need more props though, Rack. So I want you to think of some. We need a bag of dog food, but we need a good post-game prop for the next one. But do you have any parting thoughts about the Bobcats before we kind of send it off?
Man, not about the Bobcats, man. Keff, but I don't want to ignore what's really going on right now. Man, it's been heavy on my heart, with the recent verdict in the Breonna Taylor case, man. It's been very tough. It's been very difficult. It's sad, I feel for her, rest in peace, to Breonna Taylor. I feel for her family. It's a tough situation. And, I do really want to say, a lot of people have they've put in a lot of emphasis on the riots. They put a lot of emphasis on the protest, and it's kind of veered off from where a lot of people feel like it's veered off from where the movement was. But I really want people to understand, that, Black Lives Matter is a movement. It's not an they have the organization. Okay. They have all of the other stuff, that people may, not support or whatever. There's a lot of us Black people as well. A lot of us Black folks, we don't necessarily support a lot of the things that's coming out from different organizations. But one thing that we do value is our life. Okay. And that is what the whole movement is about. Me as a Black man, I was pulled over, and I was pulled over from cops, for the very first time, and I was 15 years old at gunpoint by police officers, driving before. That was my very first, and it was just like, got guns pulled out on me before, as just driving in a certain neighborhood, and it's just a situation like, it can happen to anybody, And it saddens me, that even my mother has to call me. My mother calls Brian all the time, and she calls me as well. And she has to, she's fearing, she's educating us how to deal with policemen, how to, what to do, put your hands on the steer. And it's just the day and age, it's still the society, the world that we live in right now. And, it takes you, Kev, and it takes other people, that does not have the same, skin color as me to realize and understand what's going on right now. And for everybody to unite, to come together, man, we're all, children of God. We're all children of God, man. And I do believe that. I'm very strong in my faith, and I just want people to understand that Black Lives Matter. Again, it's really a movement for the equality of that, for Black lives. And that's really what it's all about, man. And I really appreciate the things that a lot of people have said and have done. And man, this is a battle that we're going to continue to fight, my man.
Very well said. I'm glad you went there. It's something I've wanted you to talk about. I didn't know how to broach the subject with you. Right. It's such a shame that it's been politicized.
Right.
The racial injustice. It's not a political issue. It's a human rights issue, and we've heard that a lot over the last few months. And it's baffling to me that it has become this right versus left when it's not that. It's so much deeper than that. It doesn't matter your political affiliations with human decency, with treating people with respect. I mean, that's this. They taught us so much in school about how far we've come, and then you realize that there's still more work to do. And with such a complex issue as race, it's not just done. You don't just snap your fingers and you make some laws and you're like, what? It's okay. There's no more slaves. Everything is fine. It's not enough. And when it's a shame that when Black people, they get silenced when they want to speak up because like, oh, don't politicize sports. Don't politicize sports when they're talking about their own human experience, not politics. So it's a shame. But I also think that a good is going to come out of this because people are showing that it's not enough. It's not done. The job isn't done. Racism isn't cured. There's still institutional racism. There's a lot of issues still out there that need to be fixed. And if we're the number one country in the world, America, which I feel we are, we fix these issues. We don't just say, oh, this is the way things are done because that's how they've always been done. You fix, you improve, you get better at those issues. And it's a shame it's been so politicized that plenty of white people such as myself don't want to say anything because you don't want people to think you're being political. Keep politics in sports. But I mean, I cover football. I mean, that's predominantly Black athletes. And if I didn't think their lives mattered, I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world, And so I don't think it's a political thing. It's a human rights thing. And anybody out here listening to this, watching sports, who support Texas State Bobcats and all their athletes, look across those faces and you'll see that there are plenty of Black people out there that you are supporting, that you're cheering on their team, so their life matters to you. And in turn, what happens to them when they take that uniform off matters. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Keff, man, I appreciate you, man. It's been love, from since, we've met, it's crazy. You was covering the team for us, and I was a player at the time. And man, it's really been a respect level, man. I've just seen your grind, man. I appreciate you. You're somebody that I have a ton of respect for, man. It's just like, a lot of people ask me, hey, like, what does this have to do with football? Like, and it's crazy because there's a lot of people that aren't Black, that's able to, really kind of see, what we mean, or see what we go through, or see, the meaning behind what really matters to us. And it's football that brings a lot of that in, when we're in the locker rooms and, when your next locker, your next neighbor, your person right across from you, it's from a completely different neighborhood that's from you. You have a little Southern twang and a little slang in the way you talk and a little accent, and they have their own. And it's still like we are still under the same AC. You know, we still have the same uniform. We're on the same team. We're getting the same degree. And it's a situation like when we leave this locker room, things aren't always the same, you know, and that's where the fight is, you know, that's where the fight lies, you know. So man, I appreciate you. I appreciate the entire podcast kind of, you know, giving me this platform to be able to say and talk about this issue, man. And you know, we'll continue fighting.
Absolutely. And you know that respect goes both ways. I remember being that intern, you were on billboards back then. I was way out of your peripheral list. So for me, it's a huge honor to have this opportunity to do this podcast with you. You know, I'm still surprised. Where was that? There was a Starbucks in Cedar Park that we met up for.
That is right.
To have our meeting last year about this.
You're right. You're right.
One guy came and sat next to me. I don't know if you remember that. We were at a table and some guy just sat right next to me.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah. Yep. It was at the coffee shop, man.
At first, I was like, is this rack security? I don't know. His brother's in the NFL. I don't know who this guy is. But no, but ever since then, and to go from there to where we are now, it's been such an honor for me. And you know, the respect is mutual, definitely. And it warms my heart to hear the respect from you. And
appreciate it.
As a society, lots of work still to be done. And you know, well, hopefully we get there. I know we will. America's a great country.
I'm confident we will.
Definitely. Well, like I said before, go find Rack on our YouTube page. Go subscribe just to see him. He's so animated. I mean, gosh, it's a pleasure to watch. Someone bigger is going to come and pluck you away from me one day. But for now, I'm going to take advantage. I'm Keff Ciardello, Texas State beat reporter. That's Mike Orakpo, former Texas State football player over there. We'll see you next time.
Let's get it.